Hi and welcome to Let's Start Playing. Today I'm going to be showing you how to play the Paphian and Agora expansions for Seven Wonders Duel. I'm going to start with the Paphian expansion, and here I have the game set up for 2 players. If you haven't played Seven Wonders before, please check out my video explaining the base game. I'll pop a link here. So the changes Paphian introduces is, during the game there's this additional board down the right hand side here. These are going to be gaining God cards during the first round of play, pulled from these decks here, and on the second round players will be available to buy these different God cards along here. The cost for each player will be different, and the player on the opposite side of you will pay this cost, and the cost for yourself would be this bottom cost, so the player on this side. So the cards furthest away from you are more expensive, and the cards closest to you are cheaper for you. Players will be able to pick one of these gods instead of picking one of the cards on the board on their turn. These gods will offer various different powers that the players will gain. So setup during the game is more or less the same, other than you put some of these tokens out on the board. These will be a random selection of the gods. Here we've got 2 of the yellow god, 1 of the white god, 1 of the red god, and 1 of the green god out on the board. And what these do is, when someone reveals this card with the token on top, they get to take this token and then draw 2 cards from the matching god's deck. Pick one of those cards and put it face down in one of these slots along here, ready to be revealed next round. So once this board has to be reset on the round 2, all these cards get revealed. This will be all filled up other than one slot, which a special card will get placed into, and then starting from round 2 these cards will be available to buy. So when you reveal one of these tokens, by buying the card on top of it, this token will come into your hand, and then you'll draw the top 2 cards from this deck. There are 3 cards in every deck, so these are fairly predictable what you'll get if you play this a lot. However, there's some chance you won't draw the card you want. And then we've got these 2 choices here. Mousing over these cards will tell you what they do. But this one gives you 12 coins from the bank immediately, and this one will let you steal a brown or grey card from your opponent and add it to your city instead. So if I was to pick this card here, I then need to decide where I want to slot it on here. And if you think this is a powerful effect for you, you'd want to put it close to yourself. If you think it's not a very powerful effect and your opponent won't benefit much from it, you could put it over on their side, blocking up one of their slots so they don't have a chance to put a good card in that slot. In this case, I'm going to put this right down here as I think it's a really good effect. And you can see this is marked with a yellow card here. Let's skip on ahead to round 2 so we can have a look at how these show. And in round 3, these tokens become important for buying certain cards. So the guild cards get replaced from the first game and are replaced with different cards. And these cards you can get a discount based on these symbols here. So this is how your game will look starting from round 2. You can see on the board there are these offering tokens. Claiming offering tokens works in the same way as claiming those mythological tokens in the first round. However, when you get one of these can be used as a discount when buying one of these god powers. And you can see we've got the 6 god cards placed along here. So 5 of these were picked from those tokens in the first round, and we have this additional gate card. The gate card lets you draw 1 of every single divinity card and pick one of the powers to use, put the remaining cards back on their decks. This, however, the cost for both players is increased by double. So remember, you can play as usual, or you can use your turn to buy one of these powers instead. In doing this, I will get to perform the action, and player will go to my opponent afterwards. And on the last round, you will see these dark purple cards. These will give you bonus victory points based on how many Grand Temples you've built. You can also see on the Grand Temples there is a requirement that will give you it for free underneath the cost. So in this case, if I had the white mythological token, I could build this Grand Temple for free. If you collect all 3 of these dark purple cards, you gain 21 points at the end of the game. 2, you get 12, and 1, you get 5. Victory conditions are all the same in Seven Wonders Duel Paphian. Let's now move on to the other expansion. So here we are with the Agora expansion. And the Agora expansion is a little bit more complicated than the Paphian expansion. So the Agora expansion adds this Senate board to the play. This offers a new win condition for players, which is to control all areas of the Senate. and players will be able to send their influences to the Senate to take control of these areas. Also in this expansion there are new wonders added, and some of these will give you immediate bonuses like this one when you build it. So this one in the top left hand corner shows a little cube with a plus that lets me place one of the Senate cubes into one of the Senate spaces immediately when I draft this wonder. When placing your Senate cube, you simply select which space you want it to go into. These are worth different amounts of victory points at the end of the game in the little number here. This one's worth 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And all of these areas offer abilities for controlling them. So some of these are face up and some are face down to start the game. This one says each time you or your opponent constructs a green card, take as many coins from the bank as the current age. This is a good little money in karma if people are building green cards. This one will immediately let you gain 1 conflict space on the conflict board. This one lets you gain coins just like the green card, but when you or an opponent builds a wonder. And 3 of these are face down, so you could place here and it will get turned face up and you'll get whatever the reward is on the other side. Let's try it with this one over here. So over here we got this decree, and this decree says when discarding cards to take coins from the bank, gain 2 extra coins. Really good one to get early on. Now when you control the Senate, as I said, if you control all 6 locations of the Senate, you will immediately win the game at that stage. Controlling a location is having the most influence in that location. So at the moment I control this area. If my opponent was to also put 1 influence here, neither of us would control it and no one would get this benefit. This expansion also offers 2 new cards. One are these politician cards, and these let you take Senate actions based on the number of blue cards you have built. So if you read through this card, it says if you have 0 to 1 blue cards built, you get 1 Senate action per one of these cards that you build. If you have 2 to 3 blue cards, you get 2 Senate actions. And if you have 4 or more blue cards, you get 3 Senate actions. And Senate actions are 2 things. One is to place an influence like we just did then, and the other is to move an influence to an adjacent chamber. Now you'll see at the top of this card, it's separated up like a little pizza, and it shows a little quadrant. This refers to which quadrant of the Senate that you can place. So in this one's case, I can place on this area here. It's the same for this one over here. If it was the middle, it would be the middle 2, and if it was the right, it would be the right 2 on this side. You can only perform actions in that area using this card. And you can see also it has a varying cost. This cost is 0 for both players, and that's because none of us have recruited any Senate cards. Senate cards are these white cards and these black cards. As soon as I build one of these, the cost for all Senate cards will increase to 1 for me. I'm going to place my influence. I can only go in one of these 2 areas, or I can move an influence by selecting the area and selecting where I want to move it. Be aware that all of the cards, even the white ones, appear with a black background. So the black and the white cards have a black background like this. So these black cards work slightly differently. It doesn't matter how many blue cards you have when you recruit one of these, they'll always do the same thing. And one of the things is to place an influence that can go into any of the Senate spaces. And the other thing is to conspire. And when you conspire, you draw 2 cards from the conspiracies deck and choose to keep one of them. Let's have a look at how that works now. I'm going to choose to conspire, and the conspiracies deck over here has 16 cards. You'll get to draw 2 of these, and these will do various different things. So what this conspiracy does is I can place 1 blue card of my choice constructed by your opponent in the discard. And then I can move one of my influence cubes in the chamber to an adjacent chamber. And this one's the same thing, but with a yellow card. So I'm going to select this one, and that's going to come over here, face down to my opponent so they can't see. And with the other conspiracy card, you get to choose whether it goes on the top or bottom of the deck. I'm going to put this one on the bottom. Now how conspiracies work is I need to now prepare it, and preparing it's just like building a wonder, where you have to choose a card from the board, and instead of building it, you just slide it under this card face down. Let's prepare a conspiracy here and select which one I want to compare. So you can have more than one of these lined up. Now that it's prepared, before any of my future turns, I get a chance to trigger a conspiracy. So this has to be done before your action. And all you do is select any of your prepared Conspiracies and select Trigger. And this will immediately let you take that action. My opponent didn't have any yellow cards to steal, but I can, however, still move my senator. After doing this, you still need to take a turn as usual. The other thing you may have already noticed is that there are more cards every age to allow for these Senate cards to be out on the board. There are also some new technologies which we don't have displayed here. And also on the war track, instead of removing coins, we now get to place senators and destroy opponent senators and move when you reach these milestones. You do have the option of combining both expansions. I have not tried this. I find playing either expansions to be enough of an addition to the base game as it is. However, the option is there if you wish to combine both. This has been Let's Start Playing. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you found this useful, and thanks for watching.